Okay, I have one condition before I start talking. I want to move with my eyes and make sure everybody has a smile on their face. Okay, I'm sure that, yes, mashallah, this is beautiful, 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 mashallah, everybody is happy. And if there's one thing I will repeat, not for the sake of repetition, but to confirm what Sheikh Riyad said, is relax. I know that when you learned your first salat, your first move, as things became serious in your life about ibadat, you were nervous as to how well are you going to do. And when asked who is going for the first time, almost everybody raised their hands saying, this is my first ibadah, which is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. So imagine yourself at a stage where you're saying, please forgive me, I know that Sheikh Ala will not mind, but all the money you've been collecting for the longest time, and now you are putting it to go in exchange of a ibadah that may be the only time you will have to do it. Am I going to do it right? Am I going to make mistakes? Thank you, Sheikh Riyad, for saying, I know the word may sound too babyish when you say we will babysit you, but it's the truth if it will reflect exactly what we're going to do. I want to assure you that when we will get there, inshallah, you will not be left as some people came and they said, you know, we went with such and such. I'm not trying here to make a commercial for Falcon Travel, God is my witness, but some people went there, they were told, this is the Kaaba, remember what you read about it, go and do Umrah, we will see you in 2 hours. Yeah, if this is the case, this will be scary. But, you know, in our family, we go together, we come back together. I know that some of you may not stay with the group because of the crowds, but we will make sure that this is the point where we will meet, we will see each other again, we will go and do this. Don't worry. We will not leave anyone to say, well, sorry, we are too busy doing something else. That will not happen. Sisters and brothers, Ramadan finished 33 days ago. On the 1st of Shawwal, Hajj started. So we are already in Hajj, even though we are still in Toronto. But Hajj started on the 1st of Shawwal, not because I said, but because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. You know, and I always wondered why for the ibadah of fasting, which is an entire month, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described it by saying, أَيَّامًا مَعْدُودَاتٍ, a few days. It's an entire month. But Allah said a few days. And the ibadah, which actually is 2.5 days. Hajj, by the way, does not take more than 2.5 days. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described it, Al-Hajju أشهر معلومات فمن فرض فيهن الحج فلا رفث ولا فسوق ولا جدال في الحج. Hajj is specifically mentioned, assigned months, and that is why they started on the 1st of Shawwal, which means that time you made the niyyah to make Hajj, your Hajj started. So you have to prepare now for a life-changing experience. I'm not going to use the expression born again Muslim because of the other religious connotation of that, but for us indeed, it's a life-changing experience. Why? Now look at this. Ibadat in Islam were made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so that some or one of those ibadat you have to do every day, 5 times every day, the entire life, in order for you to earn the benefits. Even when you cannot stand, you have to do your salat sitting down. Even when you cannot sit down, you have to do your salat. Even when you are lying on your back, on your side, you cannot stop salat. You have to do it 5 times every day in order for you to benefit. And once a week, you are summoned to do a run over what you've been doing for an entire week. Now you do it together and you feel what your salat is doing for you. Now, for zakat, we have to do it every year. For fasting, we have to do it every year for an entire month. Hajj, once in our lifetime, and we have to really get ready for it, because since we were children and since we reached the age of taklif, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, now you are held responsible by doing all the ibadat because you reached, that age. Okay, since that time, we've been choosing to do it this way, that way, fast this day, fast that other day. Sometimes we slack, sometimes we do qiyam. Now, after we're doing that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses a group of His beloved servants to bring them for an intensive reenactment of how life should have been, but now you have your chance to make the changes, so when you go back, you will be living the life I wanted you to live before you went. And that is why we will be forgiven all our shortcomings, because I know some of us sometimes may miss waking up for Fajr, may not do things as right as they should be, and this. But now Allah is taking us this year. You've been chosen to be the guests of the most merciful. In Arabic, we will be called Duyufur Rahman, the guests of the most merciful. And Sheikh Riyad explained that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of His guests. But the thing is, when we will go there, we have to realize that our life will be brought to the right track and right direction on As-Sirat al-Mustaqim. We come back and we don't need to go and do it again. So please put this in mind. And that is why, if you open the Quran and you find out there are 114 surah, can somebody tell me the number of Surah As-Salat? Why are you laughing? I know why he's laughing. Because there's no such thing as Surah As-Salat. What about Surah As-Siyam? There's no such thing. Surah Al-Zakat, there's no such thing. Surah Al-Tawheed, there's no such thing, because the entire Quran is about Tawheed, the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But tell me, where is Surah Al-Hajj? Indeed, this ibadah deserved to have a surah carrying the name Surah Al-Hajj. However, look at this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose to tell us about Hajj and how to do Hajj, not in Surah Al-Hajj. It was in Surah Al-Baqarah. Now go and sit back. Go and sit. Take him, please. Take him and hold them by the hand. Okay. Now listen to this. Look at this. Look at there are divine messages that sometimes are hidden in places that have no words. They don't need, but there are messages in that. In Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about fasting in Ramadan, gave us 8 ayat to breathe, and then immediately after that He talked about how we perform Hajj. And that, if we take it and reflect that on how fasting and Hajj fall through the year that we perform Hajj, we understand that we are taking the Quran and we are now putting it inside our lives. We just finished Hajj, and please listen if you did not, to tip number 1 that Sheikh Riyad gave, and that was shared by Falcon Travel, when he says that, Ramadan prepared our spirit. And now Hajj, may I not differ, but just a little bit of, modification. It's not only the physical part that matters in Hajj. It's a combination of everything. You will see, now we are looking at each other. I recognize some of the faces, but I don't want to say wallahi, because, but you will see when we will bid each other farewell, when Hajj is over, when we will take our flights back, we cannot hold our tears. We will indeed be one family. I still now, for 14 years, when I see people across the country, I was with you in 2008, I was with you in 2009, I was with you 2004. Remember when we did this, when we become one family, because this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted us to become. Now, there we will live the life that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to live. Be ready. We cannot just go like this now and see what's going to happen. We have to start getting ready for that special me that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted. Therefore, we are going to do the undoable that we still found difficult, which we shouldn't, in Ramadan. And I'm referring to number 1 task you need to do before this one-time journey. You have to do something that Shaitan always made you resist. He said, it's not your fault. You weren't the one who started that fight with your brother or your uncle or your neighbor or that person in the community. You stopped to go to that masjid because she goes there or he goes there. I'm going for Hajj. I'm going to go and do the undoable for others. But for me, I cannot start this life-changing journey. Please forgive me, I don't mean it physically, but I'm not going to start it on a limp. I'm not going to start it. Before I go, I had marks taken off my exam. I didn't start yet. No, I'm sorry, I started. I'm going to. And please don't think of it as something silly. I do it all the time until now. Since I was a child, I make lists. I have lists. And I go and do, now I'm going to do this and this and this. So write the list and start it with how you are going to reconcile. And I tell you, you may go to that difficult person that you're going to reconcile with, and she is going to push you off and say, I don't want to see you. Alhamdulillah, you did your share. Do that. If somebody is going to say, well, shouldn't you have returned my debt that you owe me before you would spend $17,000? Why did you go? May Allah... Make sure either you go and make an arrangement to say, if, and please don't take it fatalistically, but we say when we go to Hajj, if we don't physically come back, okay, and you know what, we say it not because we want to scare of what? Wallahi, you will find there people. I want to tell you something. She's not here in Toronto. She's in London, Ontario. A sister, I'm not going to tell you who, but she said, the dream of my life, she's sick, she is physically disabled, she is, she said, help me to go to Hajj, and then I don't want to come back. I want to stay with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the dream of my life. We will be experiencing things that talking about will belittle them. We should, we shouldn't be talking about them because, if I describe certain experiences, that experience will be belittled. Leave it. Let us experience them together. Let us find out what Hajj is all about. Hajj, by the way, yes, it's total submission. I know that. Oops. You did that. Manish, I promise you, inshallah, I'll be done in 40 minutes, inshallah. No, he has a smile on his face all the time. Okay, but let me just, I know it's full submission, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we have the opportunity to reflect and to try to understand, He does not stop us from doing that. Let me just quickly, and we will go over that in detail. Somebody is doing that. You did that on purpose. You did that on purpose. Okay. Now, let me say that stories tell us through Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that our parents Adam and our mother, whose name was not mentioned in the Quran, by the way, I'll say my mother, and that's the biggest name, the best name I can give her, say my mother, more than the name that is given traditionally to her, Eve or Hawa, but actually to be honored, she was referred to as the wife of Adam. Now they came on this earth in different places. They started looking for each other and they met at Arafat. The name Arafat means the place of recognition. That's where they recognized each other. That's where they met. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is summoning us, is bringing us and saying, come, I want you to start that life condensation journey at the place where your parents met. And that's where we are going, to Arafat. So after we meet as one family and we start a freelance worship, free worship, with nobody can, neither Sheikh Riyadh nor myself, no anybody can tell you, okay, now for 1 hour you have to make dua for them. No! We just say that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, most of what he did is dua. But you can read Quran, you can pray, you can, reflect, you can. So we go there. Then after we reconcile, then we go through a very tight place whose name means the place that is frequented at night. That's what Muzdalifah means. And then we come out of Muzdalifah, we go to the openness of Mina, we distance ourselves from shaitan. And we start with the major sins. That's why there are minor, there are middle sins, there are major sins. We just go and throw 7 stones, say, shaitan and I have no relationship anymore. He has no power on me. I am from the people described by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as ibadi al-mukhlasin. Mukhlasin, not mukhlisin. Mukhlisin are sincere. Mukhlasin are those that are chosen by me. And Allah, by the way, from the 1.7 billion people, the people who are going for Hajj this year, say 3 million people. If you know math, what's 3 million out of 1.7 billion? It's 0.001%. That's us, chosen. And then after that, we go and find our place around the Kaaba, because everything in the universe, everything, something small makes tawaf around something big. We will talk about that. So we, the small, who say always Allahu Akbar. Why do we say Allahu Akbar? We keep saying Allahu Akbar. We are the small because Allah is Akbar. We go and we make tawaf around the symbol, the first house of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then we go and we reenact what life should be.
that was lived by a poor young mother alone with no one around her between As-Safa and Al-Marwa. We go and we repeat to remind ourselves that this is what life is all about. Sometimes there is Safa, sometimes we go down, sometimes we get tired. What are we doing? To go on Marwa, and then we repeat that, and then after that we go and we remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Mina. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for all of us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put this smile on our faces as we see each other in Medina. Can I see the smile again?
Yeah.
Everybody's happy? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.